it is our responsibility to acknowledge that, like, if I was a salesperson, sales director, VP of sales, and now I'm a CRO, that like, I don't know everything about marketing. I don't know everything about CS. And then it is my responsibility to make sure that I am not just giving them a seat at the table, but that I am proactively going out and saying, you have domain expertise that I do not have.
Sure.
What am I missing?
Welcome back to another episode of the Revenue Reimagined podcast. We are so lucky to have Leslie Venetz with us today, who is the founder of Sales Team Builder, an advisor and evangelist to some of today's hottest tech companies like Attention, who sponsors this show and holds the elusive LinkedIn Top Voice badge. Leslie, welcome.
Thanks, gents. I'm so happy to be here.
One gent, one fool.
Which one is which? Uh-oh.
I'm the gent. Come on. I'm the gent.
Good one, Leslie. Good one. Good one.
Man, we're gonna have some recording issues if we keep going down that path.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us. So first question, reimagining revenue. You cannot be a sales leader anymore. What other GTM function would you run and why?
Marketing.
Why?
Yeah. I have long been a fan of blurring the lines between sales and marketing and between what it means to do demand gen versus lead gen. And honestly, some of the sequences and strategies that I roll out that work best very much harken to like demand gen marketing inspired strategies. So I think I owned marketing once for like 18 months, but it was, very, very, very early stage bootstrap. So I didn't have the fun budgets. So I think it would be so fun if you were like in a Series B marketing situation where you had budgets and you could take big risks and try things like evangelism. Marketing, it would be a blast.
Love it.
I probably just got kicked out of sales after saying that.
No,
I'm done here.
You're not kicked out, but there's a lot to go into in that. So you said you owned marketing once. Small company. Talk to me about that, because I have also owned marketing once. Dale, I don't remember if you've owned marketing. If someone is willing to let you run their marketing team. I mean, God, I hope not, but I'm kidding. Nope. But it's different, right? It's a totally different mindset. How did that make you a better sales leader?
It is a totally different mindset. And it made me a better sales leader in a few ways. I think the simplest is that it gave me a lot more respect for marketing. And we all know that the silos between marketing and sales can sometimes create tension or maybe a lack of respect for the job the other person does. So one of the most important things it taught me is that marketing's really hard. And just like we face rejection on calls, and we know how hard it is to constantly be rejected in sales, it's also really hard when you spend a bunch of time making a sequence or creating this marketing project and you think it's amazing and beautiful, and then nobody responds.
Wait a minute. You let marketing create your sequences?
Oh, kidding. This was like a decade. Kidding. Yeah, but this was like a decade ago when that was that was what was happening. Like sure. Sales was not creating sequences. So yes, to that question.
But now you create all your own sequences because you don't trust marketing? No?
I create all of my own sequences. And then that's like a whole nother question of, should sales dev report up to marketing or should they report up to sales?
Well, let's go. Where do they report?
Where do they report?
I mean, you opened it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hard on this line. I think that they need to report to sales, but I also am somebody that very much thinks there should be a chief that marketing, sales, and CS all report to. So it's a bit of a trick question in that I think there needs to be a better emphasis on revenue alignment across everybody that touches a customer. But in that revenue alignment, I absolutely think that sales development reps are in sales, not in marketing. And they really need to have more of those sales chops and would benefit from getting the training, coaching, immersion in a sales environment.
And is it because of like their quota? Is it because like alignment with sales? They're writing content, they're touching the customers. They have to actually report back into marketing. I actually like them kind of matrixed, but I guess they have to report somewhere. I always like to put them in marketing because it's that the SDR role is hard. Like it's hard,
Very
and it's hard to manage them as well. It's
And
like
you know
not
what
easy.
would make it easier? Just a dotted line reporting structure to both sales and marketing.
Yeah, because the messaging is coming from both, right?
That was sarcasm. I
Dale, sarcasm. It's a concept you need to become a little more familiar with.
Totally. I'm up for it.
I think sales, because they are talking to the customer. So I think that's a pretty big distinction, is that marketing roles are generating interest. They are generating demand, or in the purest form, they are, working on things like brand consistency and just like brand awareness. Whereas the pivot to being customer facing requires a significantly different skill set, like full stop. And that is the predominant reason I think they need to have a sales reporting structure.
I like it.
So there's not a lot, but there's a good amount of folks out there who would say the exact opposite, right? And like one that comes to mind is, and I respect him a ton, is Kyle Lacey of Jellyfish, also at Lessonly and Seismic for a while. And we have not had him on the show, and maybe he'll listen and come on the show to debate this, and we could have a whole nother episode. But he would tell you that SDR's function is to generate pipeline, and pipeline generation lives with marketing. How would you respond to that?
Two things. One, there's a distinction between a company that is running a predominant PLG model versus a company that's running a predominantly sales-led model. So I think you could probably make an argument for a different structure in PLG, and all the companies that Kyle has been at are, they were PLG heavy companies, because they're dealing with a lot of inbound. And that's a distinction in the role, right? Like BDR, SDR, we throw all these different phrases around. Nobody truly knows what the difference is between a BDR and an SDR, but often I define it as BDR is inbound, SDR is outbound. So we'll use that distinction. And everybody's going to be like, no, that's not what it is. It doesn't matter. We all get it wrong. We all get it right. So if we're thinking about maybe a BDR function who is predominantly handling inbound leads, and even if it's not all hand raisers, maybe a heavier, like strong MQL funnel, I could see the, hey, it's demand, maybe nest them under marketing. I don't come from a PLG background, so that's not my area of expertise. So I'll leave it to folks like Kyle to make those decisions. I come from a background of running teams that penetrate enterprise accounts. PLG does not work there. And having an SDR team, an outbound team report to marketing would just not create the traction in the market in that nice cold outreach that I wouldn't. I've never seen it work in that type of like sales led, outbound heavy enterprise cycle.
It totally makes sense. And since we're talking about alignment between sales, marketing, and let's get into CS a little bit, but why is it so difficult to keep that alignment? So we have the SDRs reporting up in the sales, but there seems to always be this drop, this gap in between sales and marketing, and now between sales, marketing, and CS, where we're getting churn. How do we get the information back to marketing and the sales? Why the misalignment?
I feel like that's a question for the ages. I think part of it is that most chief, if you call them chief customer officer, commercial officer, whatever it is, most of them grew up in sales.
Okay.
So
yep. Like a CRO growing up in this, but now was a VP of sales and now is a CRO.
Correct. Yeah. And so I think a lot of it is that the folks that most often get promoted into that chief role have never owned marketing and they've never owned CS. So some of it might simply be a lack of understanding of the role. I think some of it still ties back to like sales is the one carrying the load. Like we're the ones that get fired if we don't hit quota, not you, marketing, and often not CS either. So I think there's some natural tension that gets built into those dynamics. And then I think there are some blinders that are not intentional, but I think there are some blinders that get built in because often the person that is the CRO, CCO, whatever, hasn't ever been integrated into the marketing or the CS teams.
Sure. Sounds like an excuse to me, but
yeah, I don't think it's malicious. I don't think it's malicious, but then on the other side, it is our responsibility to acknowledge that, like, if I was a salesperson, sales director, VP of sales, and now I'm a CRO, that like, I don't know everything about marketing. I don't know everything about CS. And then it is my responsibility to make sure that I am not just giving them a seat at the table, but that I am proactively going out and saying, you have domain expertise that I do not have.
Sure.
What am I missing? And I'm not sure if the egos of all CROs are allowing that to happen at the volume it should.
I love all of that, but when it comes to pipeline and who owns pipeline, my answer is actually very simple. Everyone owns pipeline, right? And when we talk about, and I wrote down and I circled it 3 times, the word silos on my notepad here, that Dale makes fun of me that I have a notepad because I'm old.
Well, and he's got to circle it 3 times. That's the challenge.
Because otherwise I'm going to forget to talk about it. But that's the problem, right? Is a lot of revenue orgs, it is these silos, and it's, well, marketing owns pipeline and sales owns signing and customer success owns expansion. Everyone owns revenue. I am a huge believer that part of marketing's compensation should be tied to sales and closed deals that make sure that we get the good leads. Part of sales compensation should be tied to time to value, time to activation, expansion, renewal, etc. Same with success. Like if you go this one level deeper, you're getting everyone surrounded on the one goal, which at the end of the day is 2 things, right? It's new revenue and it's NRR. And if you aren't collectively working on both of those, then you're living in this silo and you have this pissing contest of who owns what. And I think we've all probably been in organizations where that's exactly what it is. And like that one-on-one weekly that I have with Dale, the marketer, I want to blow my brains out because it's going to be a horrible conversation. Now, that's my one-on-one.
That's because he
anyway,
can't close
even though
business.
He's not a marketer.
He can't close business. It's a problem. I give him all the leads to close any business. I don't know what happens.
Oh, wait. But, I'd say, Adam, I have very much, particularly in the past 5 years, seen a big change in marketing having a number. Like there is, marketing is being measured and is accountable for pipeline generated, pipeline closed in a way that I had not really seen prior to 5 years ago. And I am seeing some exciting changes in sales comp plans, where comp is like that time to value example, like some comp is held back in terms of making sure that if the ideal handover is, 30 days, if you are facilitating a handover in a way that allows that time to value to be that 30 days or less, you maybe get a little bonus. One of my favorite things that I've been seeing in recurring revenue models is a bonus if they renew after year 1 or renew after their original contract. I love that. And it makes sense because salespeople are often accused of just, pushing garbage over the line just to get their revenue. And frankly, that's not what I've seen in the sales orgs I've worked in, or even like the clients that I serve now. I don't think that's.
Yeah. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I don't want to say never. 90% of the time, I've never seen that. That's
Same. But like, why not counteract that narrative that is that's fabricated with an incentive for sales folks to not only bring good deals across the line, but then bring them across the line and continue to partner with their, CS team to to keep the value that they promised in the sales cycle going throughout the year.
Ever feel like keeping your CRM updated with call notes is a nightmare? You're not alone. Most sales leaders would rate their CRM hygiene a 4 out of 10. Badly maintained CRMs lead to inaccurate data, missed opportunities, and a messy sales pipeline. Not ideal, right? Introducing Attention, your sales rep's personal Iron Man suit. It transforms CRM upkeep, automating it with AI, and freeing your reps to sell, not enter data. Attention fills your CRM with a single click, drafts custom follow-ups, and gives real-time assistance. Isn't it time your CRM worked for you? Ready to upgrade your sales? Visit www.attention.tech. Yeah, I agree. So let me shift gears a little bit. You are the outbound expert, right? Self-proclaimed, probably a fact.
Yeah.
Let's talk. She's a LinkedIn top voice. Like, there's a lot of people talking about it. Not self-proclaimed.
And I said a fact, and we could edit that out if you'd like. But I did say it's a fact. Outbound is fucking broken. Like, let's just call a spade, right? There is so much shit out there of it's make 1,000 calls a day and just drop everyone in a sequence and, use this tool to scrape LinkedIn for personalization. I want to speak to, especially, a lot of our listeners are founders and they're building outbound engines for the first time.
Yeah.
How do we fix this mindset of like just quantity? Just throw people in fucking sequences and boy, they're going to come. That's what Dale tries to do to grow our business. He's like, build a sequence, email every VC firm in San Francisco, and they will come.
And then he says, call Leslie.
And then call Leslie.
Right. And I said, I know a consultant we could hire who could help with this.
Yeah. Except for I do not serve early stage companies. Sorry, suckers. Got to get a little bit bigger before I'm your gal. Okay, but two very serious things. One is that there is some confusion about what works. And that happens. And you have all seen these emails hit your LinkedIn inbox where people are promising you 10, 30, 50 meetings a month. And here's what folks don't understand, because they will get that 10 meetings and they will say it worked. To get those 10 meetings, you burn 10,000 leads. So it
say
worked.
It again, please.
Right? Like they're not wrong. They got their 10 meetings, but they are burning through their TAM at a rate that means that it is not possible to build a sustainable, durable outbound process. So I think that is something that people get wrong, and you don't see it right away. Right?
Slow burn. It's a slow burn.
Yes, it's the slow burn. And then you've screwed your entire TAM and everybody hates you and you decimated your domain reputation probably more than once. And now all of a sudden you're at year 1, year 2 of the business and you've realized that you've dug a hole that might be impossible to get out of. So I think that is one very important point. The other point I think is that there's this trend that I just love, that sarcasm, Dale. There's this trend that I just love on LinkedIn where people talk about like rebranding cold calling. And this is how this is how I do warm calling and warm outreach. And then they literally just describe how to do cold outbound strategically. And
call it warm.
No end. Because it's like, no, you're literally just describing cold calling. You're just describing cold calling, outreach, whatever, cold outbound done properly. Instead of spending all this time trying to rebrand it into something it doesn't need to be, like, why don't we just create repeatable processes that center our customers and then, I don't know, train our reps to execute against them?
There's
and then like one of your current posts is like, coach your reps, like coach them, like help them, like make sure that they have the foundational elements. But part of the challenge is like some of the old school leaders are like volume. And this isn't a volume game. We're talking even, okay, if you're going to do a PLG motion, let's keep that away for a second. But if you're going to do like enterprise type sales, it's not 100 calls, 200 calls, parallel dialers. So how do they do it in a bit more like, let's give the audience like a couple of tactics that they can run today to help them out.
Yeah, for sure. And for context, I grew up in a volume environment. Like the first teams I managed,
I think
the
we all
first
did.
jobs I did were like 200, 250 calls a day. Like I was pounding. We didn't even have computers at our desks. We would print out our leads.
You were rotating you were
Yeah.
rotary dialing, right?
No, I'm still a millennial. God help me.
We're all around. I
Do
think
I
we're
need
all
to like
around the
go get
same
more
age.
Botox? Jesus.
We're probably older than you.
No, I'm a millennial. But like I
Dale's a
understand what it was
boomer.
like to be in that environment. I was able to have success in that environment. And I think a lot of the people that are sales leaders now grew up in that same environment and they're like, well, that's what I did.
Right.
It's like, cool, Trent. Like, that's so awesome. That worked for you 15 years ago. That is simply not the environment that we're in right now. Our buyers are smarter. Our buyers have higher expectation. Our buyers have a lot more access to information. And it is now our responsibility to make sure that we are earning the right to ask for their attention, their time, their consideration. So one tactic, pretty easy to execute too, is value-based segmentation, meaning take your ICP and then build in some additional layers. Your ICP is financial executives in, one of three industries. Pick one industry. Don't pick financial executives. Pick a specific title. So now you're outbounding to CFOs at CPG companies. Keep going. Only CFOs that have been in seat for a year or less. Only CFOs at organizations that have 10 billion plus in revenue. Only CFOs that are in the New York metro area. And now you've created a list that's maybe 38 people, 52 people, but it's still an opportunity to create a message that is highly relevant and valuable to them without having to hyper personalize. So that is still scalable. And it still centers the customer.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I wonder how many leaders that may potentially listen to this and be like, yeah, but I got to do 100 dials a day. And it's like,
but if first off, if you're the leader who's saying you need to do 100 dials a day, you're a manager, not a leader. Number two, if you're being told that you need to do 100 dials a day by a founder, you need to be the leader and push back as to why that is not the right thing to do.
I love it.
Yeah.
Say it again, Dale, because you don't agree with me often.
Yeah, it's very, very little, but I do agree. Like, you're a manager. You're not coaching. You're not leading. You don't have any strategy. It's just, and it's not going to work. As Leslie said, you're going to burn your whole TAM. You're going to burn your whole market. I think about it like a bullseye. Like if you think about the bullseye, like that red piece is small. And once you get really good at that red piece, now you can go on the outside. You can start building the rings around where you can be like, okay, now we can expand it because we actually did this really well.
Yeah. It's interesting because I joke that for sales team builder, I don't work with early stage companies, but I do have an engagement where I serve early stage companies. And one of the questions that I always ask, because they'll be like, well, we have to, all these people and we have to contact everybody. And I'm like, okay, to hit your goals for this year, how many customers do you need? And the answer is usually like 12,
right?
17, right? The answer isn't we need 700 customers. And I think what happens is that so many of these companies are preparing for or chasing VC funding. So they are in the mindset of TAM. Here's, these huge numbers that it can be difficult to reset to a quality mindset when it comes to outbounding, and to remember, we actually only need to close 12 people this year. So even if we have atrocious win rates, like we really only need to talk to 100 super qualified prospects to hit our revenue goal. But it often is one of those things that the moment I say it out loud to them, a light bulb goes off and they get it and they're able to then readjust their focus and their mindset. But we as founders, as revenue leaders, get so bogged down in like just keeping the plate spinning that it can be hard to take that breath and pivot to a more strategic, more intentional focus.
I love that. Yeah, it's the plate spinning, and I think it's a little bit of fear. Like it's the mind, like changing the mindset from fear to execution. Like if you execute and you start getting some quick wins on that, we have a client right now. We're just kind of ramping them up. They sent out 12 messages, got one meeting right away. Like so, it's like it doesn't have to be 3,000 emails.
Hyper personalized. We were on that call before here, and Leslie, I shit you not, I said if we could get one meeting for every 12 emails we send out, we're golden. I'll do backflips through your damn New York City office. Now,
and Adam can't even do a front flip or walk straight, so I don't know how it's going to happen.
This is a fact.
You're gonna have to really do some calisthenics to warm up.
I'm gonna have to figure something out because I can't do any of that. But we'll see.
So Leslie, at Revenue Reimagined, we love to give back to the community, give back to the audience. You were so gracious. What are you going to give to the audience?
Ooh, you know that giving back, open fist or open palm versus closed fist. The thing that I would be delighted to share with people, I have a cold call objection book. It is 13 of the most common objections, 40 different sample scripts to help folks find a response that pairs with their personality style, as well as an approach to continuing the conversation when you hear an objection and not going straight into selling mode and getting that commission breath. So it's a great asset. I would love for folks to have that.
Love that.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome.
It's an amazing asset.
Am I eligible?
Yeah.
Yes. Look at that. There we go. All right. As we wrap it up, we'd love to throw some rapid fire at you, and we're gonna put some rules on the rapid fire today. So rapid fire rules: every answer must be 10 words or less. 10 words or less.
Doesn't know how to count, so it's okay.
I don't know how to count, but I rely on Dale for that. All right. First question. What song would best describe your revenue strategy?
I'll go with my walk-up song, Sister Nancy, Bomb Bomb.
Nice.
Nice. I like that. Your walk-up song.
Yeah.
We have to start playing some music in these videos.
Dale, have you ever done like a big sales kickoff where like you walk up to the stage and you have a walk-up song? I know they usually play taps when you walk up to the stage, but
I don't need
Yeah, no. You go to like MLB, you go to a game and they,
I know what you're talking about. If you had a crystal ball, what's one revenue trend or strategy that you predict would take center stage in the next 12 to 18 months?
Community-led growth. Yeah, it's going to keep growing and be more mainstream.
Love that.
Leslie, what's one lesser known tip or tactic that's made a surprising difference in revenue outcomes for teams that you've led? Give us a secret.
Oh, a lesser. Ooh.
A Leslieism.
Oh, I'm just not sure. Active listening is the most important skill for any sales professional in any role.
Okay. That I agree with.
That's why
100%.
That's why you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? 100%. Awesome. Last question. Earlier in the show, you said you would be a marketing leader. It's tomorrow morning. You grabbed your big cup of coffee. You could be in Tampa. You might be in Chicago. Who knows where you are? What's the first thing you do as that marketing leader?
Have fun with it.
What a good answer. So many people are like, I would come in and I would look at this and I would do that. Like the basic simplicity of that answer and all that it means is probably the best answer we've got to that question. I love that. With that said, Leslie, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you? What's the best way to engage with you?
Yes, I live on LinkedIn, so everybody can find me there. And then I'm also on TikTok at Sales Tips Talk.
Sales Tips Talk. I love it.
Yeah.
Super
I just
cool.
made sure that was very hard to say out loud.
Leslie, thanks so much for being here. It was awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Appreciate it.
Thank you.